Welcome to the Global Symposium for Regulators 2024, GSR-24, being held here in Kampala in Uganda. I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio today by Piotr Dmochowski-Lipski, who is the Executive Secretary of the European Telecommunications Satellite Organisation, EUTELSAT IGO, and, of course, a Broadband Commissioner. Welcome to the studio, Piotr.
Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
Now, let's talk about this year's Global Symposium for Regulators. You're no stranger to ITU events and nor GSR. What's the significance of this year's GSR for you?
Well, GSR is a very significant event in the international telecommunications community, not for the first time, but for us who are active in satellite telecommunications, it's extremely important. It's really, satellite telecommunications, as you know, is just I would say, tiny part of the overall telecom business, maybe accounting for, 2% of the world revenues. But because of the changes in technology and then also what's even more important, demand in the marketplace, is becoming more and more important for the satellite telecom as a whole. We are talking about convergence, we are talking about different solutions, different technological solutions. And this year GSR is very much focused or centered on those issues, and that's why it's kind of special, this year. And it was the same thing with the WRC, the last WRC, and the same thing with GSR. That the satellite part of telecommunications becoming more and more important in the whole web of solutions.
Now, talking about satellite, I know that EUTELSAT IGO is sometimes confused with the global satcom operator, EUTELSAT SGA, which is headquartered in France. Perhaps we could remind the viewers what is the exact relationship between the two EUTELSATs and how this relationship and perhaps your relationship with other stakeholders are managed to serve the international public interest, particularly in the context of sustainable development goals?
It's a great question, and indeed there's sometimes a lot of confusion among even people who are part of the overall telecom community. We need to go back in history a little bit, and I promise I'll be very brief. We're going back to 1977. At the time, the satellite industry as such, is a young industry, only 20 years old, and several countries in the western part of Europe, which were, let's say, on the right side of the Iron Curtain at the time, created the European Telecommunications Satellite Organization. So EUTELSAT is an acronym, it's an abbreviation, for the purpose of building a pan-European system of satellite telecommunications to serve, to serve the needs that were just starting to emerge. And a little bit forward, this part of the telecom industry has taken, took off at the time very rapidly. Television, first voice communications, and then data communications, still analog, but at the time so. And also there's some political changes. In 1990, 1991, the fall of the Soviet Union, and the membership of EUTELSAT expanded, to all those countries like mine, I'm from Poland, Central and Eastern Europe, and now it's 49 countries. So at some point, the parties to the EUTELSAT Convention decided, or basically noticed, that it's important to run a business which requires capital, which requires freedom of management decisions, and so on and so forth, to run it as an intergovernmental organization. ITU is an intergovernmental organization, so you know what I'm talking about. So they decided to reorganize. And all the assets, all the people, physical satellites up there, and the business transferred to a newly created company, which is now EUTELSAT, lowercase letters, which is basically a French Société Anonyme organized and managed from France. However, the parties decided that they would require a certain deal of control over the orbital positions and associated frequencies that had been collectively assigned to those member states by the ITU prior to that restructuring, which was finalized in 2001. And they decided to retain an intergovernmental organization, naturally smaller and no longer running a business, called EUTELSAT, spelled in capital letters, and that's EUTELSAT IGO. So and they did it. Why they did it? Because they realized the very fact, which is truth to this very day, that all of that wonderful structure was created using public resource, which is orbital slots and frequencies, and also public money, quite frankly, because it's the governments who finance it. So they decided that they will set up certain principles, they call it basic principles of public service, that the new company, not many, but some very basic and important principles that the newly formed company will have to adhere to in exchange for being able to build a business on those frequencies and orbital slots. And that's the situation to this day. The reorganization restructuring happened in 2001. I'm the third executive secretary of the organization. We have not a very big office in Paris, and we maintain this arm's length, very delicate level of oversight of the company. But I'm reluctant even to use that word, because our relationship is very good, because we understand that in order for the company to be able to fulfill those principles, they have to be successful, they have to build business and so on. The primary tool, if you will, for me to exercise, that is something that was decided in 2001, that I am a non-voting member, or the French use the word censeur, of the board of directors of EUTELSAT. So that gives me, I don't vote. I have no say in appointing, the executive committee or anything of that nature. However, I do have a right, or we do have a right, because it's not just me personally. I exercise this personally, but it's for the organization. So we have a right to be informed, to participate in meetings and so on, which is very important. So this is in a nutshell. And because this is EUTELSAT and this is EUTELSAT, sometimes people confuse the two. We serve basically our member states. Those are our primary stakeholders, 49 member states, with different needs, different levels of involvement in satellite telecommunications. There are some big markets like Greece, like Italy, like Poland, some smaller markets, but we try to maintain neutrality and professionalism, of course, and serve their interest. If there are any problems or issues or queries they have vis-à-vis the company, that's our role to serve as a sort of a bridge of or transmission. But this is not our only activity. We have other stakeholders as well. We are parts of two different but also converging worlds. One is telecommunications world. That's why I'm here. We are members of the three verticals of bureaus, of the ITU for many years. So this is a telecommunication angle, and also an overall space angle. We are official observers of the Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space, the COPUS in Vienna, and also participate in International Astronautical Congress and so on. So that's, and we are trying to advance let's say, the public service dimension of space telecommunications. So that's what we do.
Thank you very much. And is there a message, briefly, a message that you'd like to convey to the participants here at GSR as well as our wider audience?
Well, there are two messages. One is general, and one is kind of very specific, specific to and current. The general message is that telecommunications must always remember about its public roots, always. This industry was, as I said, and I will repeat it, was formed using public resources. It serves extremely important public goals. We are all for, you mentioned my membership in the Broadband Commission, we are all for advancement and hopefully fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So this is my general message. No matter how big or small you are, no matter whether you're in public, national public service or international, or you are a big corporation making tons of money on telecom, without this public angle, this thing would really run into all kinds of trouble. The second message is specific. And I came here with a certain mission because we witnessed recently the re-emerging cases of what you may call deliberate interferences, or to put it simply, jamming of satellite signals. Yesterday, several European administrations issued communique that there are some multiple cases of interference with different satellite operators. I'm not going to name any countries. We are neutral. This is not my role. But this is something that is really, really very harmful, not only to the particular be it broadcasters or other emitters of the signal, but to the overall world community. Sustainability of telecommunications involves freedom from that kind of activity. There's also dimension of, let's say, freedom of speech, as stipulated by Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So that's my second and specific message. Please don't get yourself involved in jamming if you do this, and stop it. And we have to be vigilant. This is not a good thing.
Piotr Dmochowski-Lipski, Executive Secretary of the European Telecommunications Satellite Organization, EUTELSAT IGO, and Broadband Commissioner, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, Max.
And if you've enjoyed this interview, which I'm sure you will have, then do check out our other interviews on our YouTube channel, as well as our podcasts on our podcast channels. And for further information, visit our website at www.itu.int. Thanks for tuning in.